Hi, my name is Chris Bosley. I live at 126 Croydon Avenue, Croydon Park, a suburb in Sydney, New South Wales. The building I live in the date is Tuesday the 13th, December 2016. The building I live in is majority owned by the Anglican Church, and it's used to house more theological Bible college students. These students have, since we've lived here, committed many crimes. And computer crimes, harassments, a whole bunch of other things um, towards us, and they've done so for since 2013 when we lived here, and successively there's been different students that have lived here, and they've all kind of joined in on it. So it's been a coordinated, effort to defend themselves after I became vocal of their crimes and vocal of their harassments. There's just nothing but denial and retaliation. So the main things, harassments, none of it is acceptable. None of it all, especially from an institution that, the Anglican institution at Moore Theological Bible College here, that owns Moore Theological Bible College, and the other denominations that are affiliated and taught here at this Bible college, Presbyterians and Baptists. All of these students have taken part in these things, have gleefully and, joyfully, like, predators with blooded tooth and nail have all joined in and frenzied, have taken part in campaigns of computer attacks and harassments and scratching the car, a whole bunch of other things. So, for example, we've been told by one student that got a job at the Sydney Diocese here, a big church in Sydney here, one of the main churches. He said to us, well, maybe some people would just be happier somewhere else. The seminary atmosphere doesn't suit people, some people's that very well. And he said this after he asked me how long I would stay, and I said probably for a long time. So what they do is one of their methods of, once they've been accused of something, or once they've not accused, once something has been said about their behavior, once something is drawn to the attention and vocalized, then what they do is deny. And what the immediate reaction is retaliation. So they retaliate hostily, and they try to intimidate. And they'll do something to try and intimidate you and get you to shut up. And if that doesn't work, then they'll use manipulation, and they try to manipulate social situations. One of the things that they do is for example, they'll have witnesses, and then they'll try to instigate you to come to your door or to come to your window or to do something. They'll instigate you into a certain hostile behavior, and then they'll try to get witnesses to watch, and or they'll try to get you to exhibit publicly a certain behavior. And for example, they'll try to piss you off doing something, and then they'll say that you're aggressive or whatever. And the most recent thing that they're doing is, since there's nothing that you can do, since there's nothing that you can say, nobody listens, and they get away with murder, bloody murder. I mean, they could sit there and drop poison in your water, and you could die on the ground, and everybody would ignore it, and they would say, oh well, bad things happen to people. There's nothing you can do about it, even though they saw them, even though it was on camera. The deed that they did, they would still get away from it. They would still get away with it. So sometimes I like to sing. So, for example, they'll have somebody in the house, and then they'll scratch at the door as if they're going to leave, and then they'll watch the window, and then they'll say, well, see how it jumps to the window? He's harassing the neighbor. one of the guys that there's lots of guys involved in the computer attacks, but one of the guys that is involved with the computer attacks lives right next door. I call him Games Bovley. So Games will scratch at his door like as if he's opening his screen. And of course, I think that they're going to open my screen because they've come to my screen before and they've stuck their key in my screen and they've tried to open the door. And so I don't want that. So of course I'm going to go and make sure that nobody's there. And then they stand at the outside and then they watch and say, see how suspicious he is, see this, see that. And they try to diminish your character. So, or they'll have somebody, they'll pretend that he's gone. He'll pretend that he's gone and he'll have somebody in his house. You'll hear them walking up and down the stairs and then they'll come back. I don't know why they do that. Maybe to try and get me to turn my computers on so they can attack them some more. Who knows? So today, this morning, they had one of their friends visiting and doing laundry, and or whatever. I don't know. And they're in the house. She's in the house with the wife, with Games' wife. Now, so they sneak outside. They do their they do their little sneaking outside bit, and then they wait. They're watching, right? So I know exactly what they're doing. So I sang a song, something like dear God, please judge them well, send them to some kind of, please do not let them get away with their computer crimes, and or something like that. I don't know exactly. So then I hear her whisper at the door because they're listening, and they do this all the time. See, I hear whispering at the door. Of course, which I responded to is, see at school, no, see at more school of theology, see at more school of theology, the truth don't mean that much, you see, we can erase it all, the data doesn't matter, we'll erase the truth, you see at more school of theology, we see what we wanna see at more school of theology, or something like that. I don't know. So I was just screwing around just off the top of my head, right? So anyways, as soon as I said that, as soon as I recognized and confronted the fact that they're sitting at the door listening, and then she goes, see, what they try to do is they try to make it look like I'm harassing. They try to make it look like I sing on purpose, so that I sing on purpose to annoy or to hurt. The fact of the matter is, it's all the protests I have, but even that's not allowed. So even the very fact of protesting with song, or protesting with something simple as verse or writing, they don't allow it. They won't allow it, and they try to make it look like you're doing something wrong. They committed crimes. They commit crimes on a daily basis. They've broken every one of our computers, and they're doing something even worse. They can get into any computer they want. I removed all my wireless cards and Bluetooth cards from all my computers, from all my laptops. I disassembled them and took out the wireless cards and the Bluetooth cards. And still, they access those machines. They change NTFS file attributes to make external USB drives read only. They touch files. They change configurations. They go underneath the firewall. Anything they want, root control. And today, what they did, when she's standing at her door with her friend and she goes, see what he does? See how he makes fun of my poor husband? See how he tries to instigate us? We don't do nothing wrong. He instigates us. That's their thing. They take something that they do, and then if you call them on it, they spin it any way they can. And this is just, I haven't done this all the time. I've lived here for 3 years. I've went to the police. I've talked to politicians. It's not like I just, I started singing like this since day one. They came up with lots of stories. First, I'm aggressive. Then I'm an aggressive, dangerous person. That doesn't work because then they try to get you to do something. That doesn't work. Then they try to get you on a secret camera that they have in a window. That doesn't work. Then you comment on the camera and you put a YouTube video up with this thing that looks just like a camera. Then they move the item, right? And then you put a YouTube video up with something that looks like a camera because you're talking about, well, what happened was they had a camera outside hidden like in a window, but you could see the lens flare at night. I talked about it on YouTube that I thought Anglican Church has cameras hidden and they watched you secretly, your behavior. After I put the video up, they take the camera because they monitor all my activity. They take the camera and they move it from that spot and they put it outside on the wall, and it's looking pointed directly at our unit. I can still see the lens flare. It's the same object that was hidden in the window. They just moved it outside because I commented that the Anglicans are secretly watching, might be secretly pointing cameras at your unit. So then they move it outside. Maybe it's a camera, maybe it's not. Doesn't matter. They moved it outside anyways. And when I said, do you have cameras? No. And then I said, well, what's that, to some of the students. And then I said to the student, I said, well, what's that big ball on the wall that looks like a camera? And then he grinned, never said nothing. He just went, So, I think that they tried to secretly have video on our unit and then try to get me to go out and do something aggressive. Foofly used to always walk by our unit and act in an aggressive or act in a way to try and instigate. And I showed the property manager standing at our unit door trying to get me to act in a way while the property manager was sitting there at James Foofly's door with his phone up in front of him like this, trying to catch me doing something aggressive. And they don't listen. They don't care. Nobody cares. You say something and nobody cares. Oh, they're good people. Oh, I heard somebody just wake up, so I'm probably going to get the battery warning pretty soon. And someone just woke up in the next unit over to us. What time is it? It is 3:55. So I might have to go pretty soon because the battery warning might come on. But anyways, that's the thing. And they do it all the time. They sneak around all the time, watching you, trying to get you to incriminate yourself, trying to get you to do something that they can use against you. They watch what you're writing on the computer, and if you're writing something, they retaliate. If you write something about their behavior, they'll retaliate and do something like knock a screen off a window, or scratch your car, or bang on your screen, or do some other type of behavior that's harassing. And this has been happening, or that can be qualified as harassment. And this has been happening since 2013. It's 2016 now, and it hasn't stopped. So the response of everybody is, well, why don't you move? Right, mate? Why don't you move, mate? Just move, mate. Why are you staying there then, mate? The whole point is, what would happen if a young woman with kids moved here? How could she afford to fix all these cameras, or to fix all these phones, to fix her computer? She couldn't. She'd move up. I think the original intention of all this behavior was to, one, train, and two birds with one stone, to get rid of the tenants, because they want this unit and they want to own all the buildings, right? And then this unit isn't nobody. If they can't keep tenants in this unit, then they'll just the property manager will just approach the real estate agent and say, "Well, we'll buy it off you. You can't keep it filled anyways. You're just losing money," to the owner. And then the owner will, hopefully, in their opinion, give up, and they'll just sell the unit to them, and then they own one more unit. They want to own the unit so they can claim tax deduction, so they can use it as church property. And then they own the big house on Georges River Road, the house 124 right next to us, the entire building of apartment complexes right next to us, or units. And then they own this building, and then they can start working on the building behind us, and then start harassing those people as well. So they use computers to harass. They use computers to steal data, probably to blackmail. They use, like, for example, they'll come up with, they'll watch your behavior or something, and they can also plant. They can plant false data. They have direct root access to the phone or computer, so they can plant false data. They can make me look like, and I've seen it on my firewall. I don't have root right now, but when I was using a firewall, I can't use a firewall with a VPN. But when I was using a firewall, unless it's rooted, I think, I don't know, I just bought this phone a month ago, I was seeing activity trying to go out, and I never used I was never using that application, and I was not using connecting to the internet, and yet still this one of the applications on the phone was trying to connect out to the internet all the time. And I think it was YouTube or a browser or the browser, I think, or something. So they can access the applications, and they can make the applications try to access the internet, and they can do anything they want. YouTube app, they can make the YouTube app go to some video on how to do something bad, make a bomb, do something to incriminate me, some kind of illegal activity, whatever. And then it's on my phone and it looks like I'm doing it. I wasn't doing it, but it looks like I'm doing it, and they can do that. These Anglicans can do that, and these Anglicans are criminals. These Anglicans are downright worse than criminals because they don't get charged. They're protected by the church and they're protected by the government. Their crimes don't get any consequence. They have no consequence for their crimes. And they act in this group like a terrorist cell. They're like a terrorist cell. They act in a group. No one person does it themselves. They all work together. No one person takes the blame. So one person will do something, and then the other person will complete it. One person will write the script. The other person will make the attack. And they can even get somebody outside of here to make the attack when I'm walking around. If they want, I can. If I'm walking around with my phone somewhere else, they can just follow me around and hit the attack when I'm out. So it doesn't even have to be here at 126 where I live. So you have to be really careful all the time with these people. They're extremely manipulative and extremely dangerous. Now the whole point is that the manipulation that they did today, when she goes, see, they manipulate into a situation. So they watch my behavior and they see, okay, well, he sings at a certain time and he vocalizes in his song about our activity. So we'll act like that and he'll vocalize, and then we'll go see, and that's what they do. And they've done it since the beginning, since I've lived here. They watch your behavior, they see what they can use, they try to manipulate you. And I think one of their tactics is like that saying by Bonaparte. Somebody said something. I think Bonaparte said, "Don't interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake," and that's their attitude. Even they steal everything, including their mottos, and that's one of their favorite mottos. Let your target make a mistake, and then catch them making the error. And if they're not going to make a mistake, assist them to make a mistake. And if your assistants, they still don't make a mistake, then manipulate them into making a mistake. Social manipulation, social engineering, which these Anglicans, Presbyterians, and Baptists pride themselves on here at this More Theological Bible College, MTC. So all these different attacks and tactics they use on people, and they use it in business, and they use it in politics, and they use it in their regular day-to-day lives with innocent people. They'll aggressively attack people with these tactics, and if you're not aware of them, if you're not aware of these manipulations, they'll trick you, and they'll hurt you. They'll get you evicted from your unit. They'll get you fired from your job, and then they'll replace you with whomever they wish. So this is habitual. This has been happening since 2013, and today, when I'm singing song and she goes, see, when she whispers at her door, they're standing at her door. They listen. They don't just walk by. They stand at the door and they hear me break into song, and then they sit there and listen, and then they go, see, listen to what he's saying. See how he is. It's complete manipulation. It's intended to make me look bad and them look good, and they do this all the time, and they've done it since we lived here. They do it with the cameras. They do it with people watching from their windows, listening from their windows, from the building. I mean, there's windows up against, for example, where we park our car. I'll get out sometimes and I'll talk to somebody or whatever, and one of the douchebags who's a friend with Games Foolfully, he'll Maganchi, let's call him Maganchi, Dirty Maganchi. He'll stand at his window a distance away so you can't see him, but he'll be close enough to hear, and he'll listen in on conversations. or they'll just barge right in on your conversation with somebody and just stand there and listen. Maybe with their phone recording, maybe not. Who knows? The point is that they use social manipulation to try and get you to behave in ways that incriminate you, and they watch you very carefully for your habit, to watch your habit and to learn how you behave, and then they use that against you if they can, to manipulate you to into a position where they can criticize you, blackmail you, or force you into to do what they want. And this has been happening since 2013, and it never changes, and it just gets worse and worse, and they just get more and more aggressive. So there you go, an example of manipulation, where they watch your behavior, and then they get their friend to back them up, and they get their friend to witness, and they make the situation. They don't tell everything. When that girl goes, see, I said, see, why don't you show them so they can see all your computer crimes, or something like that. I don't know. But as soon as you say that, as soon as you address their, manipulation, they cower. As soon as you address their manipulation and say, well, explain your computer crimes, explain how you can get into my computer when I have removed my wireless card, and then they just kind of grin, and they stay silent. They don't say nothing because they're doing it. And I'm certain that they have a relationship with the government. I think that the government of Australia knows about this too. So I think the government of Australia is sending little minions all over the world to use this technique with other people everywhere. Business people, sure. Bankers, absolutely. Are they stealing ideas? Sure. Universities? Sure, absolutely. Maybe plays, maybe playwrights, maybe scripts, maybe movie ideas, stories, art, music. Absolutely. All of these things can be stolen because it's all on data. It's all data on computers. And if those computers are protected from this incenera, which I call it the attack, can be stolen. And I think that they're training students like the guy next door, James Foley, and his friends, and his group of friends, to do just these very same things. And for a year or two, they'll go off to their Bible, to their church, and they'll sweep their little carpets or whatever for a while. I'm really lucky that this battery warning didn't come on. I'm lucking out. It came in on today when my wife tried using the phone earlier. The battery warning came on. They're trying to make it look arbitrary, because it was originally intended to try and get me to stop me from uploading to YouTube. So back to my story. These people are getting trained here at more. In my view, all the evidence suggests that these people like Games, who's a mathematician graduate from Adelaide University, are groomed and picked and trained, and they're trained in these attack techniques and these computer attack methods of monitoring and data theft and data corruption. And then they're utilized either by the church or by the government. And since I see Australia as a church state position, where the government utilizes church resources, like, for example, Premier Mike Baird is an Anglican. He's part of the Anglican Church. The student minister for the same church that Premier Mike Baird goes to was involved. I think evidence suggests that he was involved in these attacks. He was a friend of James Foley, and they used to hang out with each other all the time. They used to give each other high fives shortly after an attack was committed on my computers, as if to say, yeah, good job, we got him. And they have said, good job, we got him. I heard him in their unit. I heard males in the unit, in Games' unit, saying, yeah, we got him, seconds after they accessed a power book in which I removed the wireless, the Bluetooth, the airport, and the modem, everything. And they accessed it within, 14 hours or something like that. So even less maybe. So I think that they're training. And like I said, Premier Mike Baird goes to a church. This guy, I call him Das File. He's a friend of Games Foofly. I think he was involved in the attacks on our computers. He was in the same church. He was a student minister at that same church. So he'd get up on Sunday and preach. And I'm certain that he's a complete lobbyist. He's a complete rat. He's a complete one of these guys that have to get in there and, rub elbows and a name dropper. So I have a hard time believing that he did not have a relationship with Premier Mike Baird. And I believe guys like this are trained. I think that Mike Baird and people in the government utilize these Anglican talents. And I think that people like Van de Gould have gotten off because they've corrupted data and they've protected him from getting caught. Van de Gould is an accountant who got who was being investigated for offshore tax evasion, a 7-year federal police investigation. Anglican. He's a member of the Anglican. Van de Gould gave lots of money to the Moore Theological Bible College and gave lots of money to the church and has even put high-profile people within the Anglican church through university and paid for their schooling. One in particular was in Oxford, paid for his trip and schooling in Oxford. Not sure how much of the schooling he paid for, but he did put money towards it. So much that the student, when finished, said that I couldn't have done it without Van de Gould, and thank you so much. So Van de Gould is another high-profile person, and he's done lots of accounting for many, 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 many rich Anglicans here in Sydney. So I think that they use these attack techniques that Games has used on my computer to wipe data and destroy data and make it so I can't write data, to change times, to change dates of files, etc., etc. These same techniques on higher profile cases to protect them from criminal prosecution. And that is evasion of justice. And that is deterring justice and getting in the way of justice. And that is illegal. And corrupting data in a court case is illegal. And these people corrupt data all the time. They can delete images from files, from phones. They can delete data. They can plant data. And that is what these people are trained to do. They say it's for national security. No. There's higher reasons for doing these things. They just use that national security as a method of research and development. And they use that national security as a blanket to cover their real intentions. So today, like I said, when the wife goes out and when she manipulates me to come to the door by making sounds at the door that sound like my scream, so I look out the window, or so I do something, or so I open up the door, whatever, anything that can be used to say that I'm aggressive or hostile, or that I'm the one causing the problems, that I'm making these stories up, that he's really innocent, that Games hasn't done anything. He's not done anything to my computers, or he's not done anything to harass me. He's innocent, and I'm the bad guy. Chris is the bad guy. Chris, look what he does. He sings these songs, and he tries to anger us, and he tries to do this, and we're just innocent little victims. That's the game, and they do it all the time. I think they've been doing it since they're kids. I think they're born, I think they're raised like this. So, and his behavior has only gotten worse. It's not changed since he was caught. He was caught fair and square. I caught him fair and square doing these things. His behavior hasn't changed. He's just been protected. All his friends within the church, the guy next door to this other side, protects him and supports him. Doesn't listen to a single thing I have to say. Everybody here doesn't listen. You hear people walk by and say things like, "Oh, he's nothing but he's just a know-it-all." Well, I don't know who they're talking about. I'm not gonna assume anything, but it's very clear that nobody listens to what you have to say, and nobody looks at the evidence. They only protect and care about themselves. So they don't care about any other community, and their will is to get what they want. And what they want is to have everything. So again, just a word of caution, please beware. They're very dangerous. They have extremely advanced computer attack techniques, and they have extremely aggressive social attack techniques where they attack you socially and they manipulate situations, so there's absolutely nothing that you can do to protect yourself. They use every single thing they possibly can to leverage position against you and to put you into a position where you are a submissive, where you are powerless, and then they just basically crush you or try to crush you, or to try and defeat you, or break your spirit, and just relentlessly attack, so that you just can't afford to buy any more computers, so you leave. You can't afford to buy any more phones, so you leave, and they get their unit. And I'm certain that they've used this technique many times on people. In this case, one, to train people for attacking with computers and in computer attack techniques, and two, to try and motivate us to get out of this unit so that they could purchase the unit. I don't care what they say, they deny it, but I think these things happen here, and I think they happen in other places as well. So, for example, just quickly, when I said to a student, I said to the guy next door before he left, and he left before several months ago, there's a cycle. It's a school, right? So students come, students go. One of the students that was here and was supporting games and was supporting all the BS that they do, all the crimes that they commit, he was talking to me one day. He says, well, maybe it's someone in the building behind. And I says, what, the little old Asian immigrant? What the Italian immigrants? The old people that barely know how to run a VCR? Seriously? And he just kind of smiled, the English smile. Silence. What happened after that? Well, there's a guy who lived right in the building unit behind us, Paul. He loved that unit. I talked to him. He said he would never leave if he could help it. He's gone. And the little old lady beside him, gone. And who's in their place? Well, a youngish couple, and they look awful lot like some of the a couple of Anglicans that I've seen walking around here. So, are they Anglicans that moved into that unit? I don't know. I wouldn't be able to say unless I went over and asked them, but it kind of looks that way. It kind of looks like the Anglican Church owns them units to me. It kind of looks like, after I said that they got rid of them people and planted in some people that they could use, so that it couldn't be said anymore that who in the back would be attacking the little old lady, the Asian. And there you go. I think that they do that all the time, and little coincidences like these happen all the time. Are them units owned by the Anglican Church? I don't know. And even if I could look up the public records, it's easy to cover up a person owning a unit, or have a dummy corporation or a dummy business or whatever have their name on the paper to cover up who really owns it. And maybe it's not. I'm just saying that it just seems awful strange that coincidence happened. And I think that that's another example. That he disappeared. He said he would never leave if he could help it, and he's gone. So I think that the more theological Bible college, being part of the Anglican Church, does this. They either one, buy units slowly until they own the whole building. That's one thing they do. And they also try to motivate people to leave by harassing. And it's group harassment. So the whole group of students get together and they act like idiots. They just make it really uncomfortable for you. I know that people have broken into this unit, and because we've been targeted, evidence suggests that it was the Anglicans that did this. And there's evidence after evidence after evidence, situation after situation after situation, that points to the fact that these things I am saying are fact, and that this is what they're doing. So they use all these techniques to attack. They use all these techniques to profit. They use all these techniques to gain position, power, property and authority, and that they use these. I think they use these computer attack techniques to gain admission to people's computers without knowing, because they can access any computer they want without anybody knowing. They've done it to me for 2 years, for over 2 years now. And I took out my wireless cards and Bluetooth cards, and they can still access those computers and can still control those computers. So there's a secret way into the circuit board. So the attack techniques on the computers are bad enough, but then they turn them up, just like that girl, just like his wife today. See, with her friend present, they manipulate you socially, and they try to manipulate you into a position through constant harassment and petty behavior that incriminates you. And they do it all the time, and they do it for other people. So just beware and be careful, because they use these attack techniques to gain advantage over you. So that's it for today. Video is a bit long, but I just wanted to say those things. And yeah, so just remember that these people can manipulate data, can manipulate computers. They can plant data that's false, and they can take out data that's true. Corrupt data that's true, evidence, I mean. They can get rid of it. And I don't think that people here at More Theological Bible, these people here, there's an innocence here. There's people that do care about Christ, and they're honest, and they're just here just to study the Bible. I know that's true. But these villains are not. They've been picked, and they're like a group, and they're a core group of a certain number of individuals that are loyal to each other. And they have a different agenda than the rest of the students. And you can see it by watching their behavior, and you can see it by the evidence of their activities. And I think that this continues every single semester. A new group of people comes in, and they join into the same type of behavior. And I think that they were caught, and now they're retaliating and trying to cover themselves up. They were caught committing computer crimes, and now they're trying to cover themselves up. So just beware and realize that they can do this. They can access computers, and they can manipulate you socially. They have influence over the police, and they have influence over the government. I think that the Anglican Church is very powerful in the Australian government. So much so that I think that evidence suggests to me that the relationship between the church and the state is a church-state relationship, just like the Church of England is like a church-state relationship, only under the Queen. So I hope that attention is drawn to this, and attention is drawn to the wickedness that is in the Anglican Church, and that they're not able anymore to fly underneath the radar. They're always pointing the fingers at the Catholics and the Muslims, and they're always pointing the fingers at other religions, and then they slide underneath the radar and nothing ever happens. Like Van de Gould. Ever hear that name? Van de Gould. Vandagould. No. But he's one of the tax evasion guys that put all that money offshore. He got off. And I think it's because he was an Anglican, and he had help from these computer guys. So it's not hackers, it's them. These are professionals. It's not hackers sitting in a room somewhere. I know for a fact that Games Foolfully has done these things. It's not some hacker in the building back there. I know for a fact that these people are involved. That this group of church students, Bible students at More Theological Bible College, are training, and their attacks have progressively gotten more advanced and more sophisticated, as if they're training, as if Bible college is not their intention of being here, but rather to train in attack techniques. And I know that they utilize the noise over here to draw your attention from what they're doing over there. They make you look over there, but really what their hand is slapping you in the face here, or stealing from your left-hand wallet. They blame it on hackers, but it's not hackers. I think that's all just a big smokescreen. It's bullshit. All this nonsense about Snowden. Who gives a shit about frickin' files when they can access any computer they want? And they can. I'm telling you. There's a secret way into circuit boards. I'm telling you. They've got access to every one of our machines. Every one. An Asus, an AMD, a PowerPC, and an HP. An Asus, a Lenovo, a Dell Tower, a Dell laptop, an HP, and did I say PowerPC? AMD CPU, Intel CPU, and PowerPC CPU, and they've accessed them all. And after I remove the wireless and Bluetooth cards, you explain to me how they do that. Now, who gives a crap about Snowden? Who cares about files that they're hiding? These people can access any files on any computer they want. That's a fact, Jack. And everybody keeps ignoring it because the fact is that there is no security. This is true. But when you find out how they're doing, when it's found out how they're doing this, people are going to realize that there is no software security. The hardware issue is the problem. The hardware is the door. There's no point having locks all over your door if you've got no door. There's no points in having a bulletproof steel door if the back door is wide open, or you got no windows, or there's a hole in the wall, or there's a hole underneath the wall. The whole point is that these people are getting away with murder, and there's a secret that they have, and there's Australians all over the world. I don't know if the American government knows about this, or if this is just an Australian thing, or if this is just an Anglican church thing. I mean, I don't know. And the fact is I know they can do this, and I know that Anglican students are doing it. And I know that Anglican students have a relationship with the government because one of the guys here was friends with a student minister at the same church that Premier Baird went to. So I know that they knew each other. So just beware. They can control social situations, and they can manipulate the legal system, and they can manipulate computers, and they can manipulate phones and communications. So they can do anything they want. The Anglican Church, a church-state relationship with the Australian government, and Anglican Bible college students. That includes Presbyterians and Baptists, because Games Foolfully, he's a Baptist. So just be careful. Watch your computer, and keep an eye on these people, and hopefully someday soon, hopefully they can figure out the secret way that they're getting into the circuit boards. Okay, so I'm going to go. Have a good day. Tuesday, 13th December 2016. Thank you.